Hello there, and welcome to another of Andre's Artist Profiles. Now, today is the birthday of David Lee Roth. Now, Diamond Dave was with Van Halen when they made their label debut, and actually after well over 2 decades, he got back together with a band. But, we're going to start from the beginning. I don't have any of David Lee Roth's solo albums from the 80s and, early 90s. But I have the Van Halen albums with him on it, I'm not the biggest hard rock person. Something about Van Halen's album I always liked. I always respected their musicianship and, frankly, their groove. I mean, okay, I appreciate rock through funk, okay? And they're not a funk band, okay? But I really like Van Halen's sound and their approach to music. This is a great debut album from 1978. Running with the Devil, this is kind of a blueprint, I suppose, for what you would say would be kind of the hair metal genre, but I don't think they were thinking of it that way. They were really an amazing band, Eddie Van Halen, as a guitar player, he is, I think at this point, at least, gotta be up there with the greats. The Jeff Becks, the Robert Plants, people may have other ideas, but I think he is just one of the most amazing guitarists of the classic rock era. It's kind of the end of that when they came out, but this is their second album. This isn't the reissue. I got this copy at a place called Edge Video locally. Now, this album's a little bit cooked, but it plays pretty well. I may have to replace it sometime in the near future because I really like this album a great deal. This is basically a good extension of their first album. Really strong playing, really strong groove, really exciting stuff. Okay, on this album from 1980, Women and Children First, they're kind of wearing that sound down a little bit, but they've still got that Van Halen fire going for them, I'll tell you that. So this album actually did, pretty well, as a musical success for them. This next album, okay, fair warning, most people's least favorite Van Halen album from what I've been seeing. And you know what? This is actually one of my favorites. But my favorite, of course, I'll talk to you a little bit about. There's a couple songs on this album that are really genuinely very funky. And considering they just went out on a tour with Kool and the Gang, I'm not surprised. I mean, they had a strong groove on this album. I don't think the rockers like this album much, though. It's much closer to funk. Much more like a Talking Heads album or an Ian Dury and the Blockheads kind of thing, honestly. They still got some hard rocking power, but there's a stronger groove to this one. This one actually gets into a little bit more of a synth boogie sound. It's not that dissimilar to what, ZZ Top were doing at that time with Eliminator or, Queen with Hot Space. This is called Diver Down. And, of course, the ending, has Happy Trails, the bum-ba-dee-da version. Anyway, cute ending. They do Dancing in the Street on this album, the old Motown hit, so it makes sense it's kind of more of a funky record. This is the Van Halen album that I think most people who grew up in my age bracket remember very well. 1984. This is actually the end of David Lee Roth's time in the group as he went up to start a solo career. This is a bit of a hit parade, like a Thriller or, something like that for them. Obviously, Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher, Drop Dead Legs, just one hit after the other from this album. Just huge hit parade. This is kind of their apex, but also the beginning of the end for them. But probably my favorite Van Halen album ever. I mean, isn't it? Most people's. This album came out about a year ago. This is called A Different Kind of Truth. This was David Lee Roth's return album with the band. And in all honesty, it's all right. The songs are good, the playing is great, but the production is way too overmodulated. And I was told by my dad when I loaned him that record that, he said, a lot of heavy metal albums are produced like that today. It's not my favorite production of theirs, but Not a bad album. Certainly not that one, but all of these albums are really, really good. I mean, just to be honest, they're all really, really good records. And, you know, if you see them, they're not that expensive at record stores. You see them a lot in $5.99 bins, and you only know Van Halen by their hits. These albums themselves are really not bad. I want to check them out. Happy birthday to Diamond Dave.